From Abuja.
It's all about the human struggle to raise the level of living. That's what it's all about. I'm Magnus Paco, and this is Magnus Paco GVA. I appreciate you being a part of our show. In view today, slam dunk politics in Africa. We have a panel discussion with Dr. Otivi Buza and Mr. Nicholas Ezechiel on how a brand of slam dunk politics is hurting Africa. But before that, in our hidden economics, we discuss how the night time is the right time to be with the one you love. And in our quick view, can you pass our development indicator test? That's coming right up. Can you pass our development indicator test? GDP per capita is gross domestic product divided by mid-year population. It roughly, but not accurately, represents the level of development of an economy. Considering the following African countries, which one is not among the top 4 countries with the largest GDP per capita? Equatorial Guinea, Libya, Gabon, and South Africa. Many African households have no bank accounts. Which of the following countries has the highest percent of households with bank accounts? Nigeria, Kenya, Botswana, and Ghana. Which of these African countries has the largest number of households that use credit cards for shopping? South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, and Botswana. Stay with us for our answers, coming up shortly. Also, don't forget to send us your suggestion topics for our hidden economics. We want to hear from you. See our email information displayed on the screen. If your suggestion is chosen, we will use it in a future show and give you the credit. Still in view, slam dunk politics in Africa. But up next in our hidden economics, why the night time is the best time to be with the one you love. During the daytime, the home and the streets are busy. The kids are getting ready to go to school, and parents are going to work. Everybody is energized. Maybe it's because of the sun. It naturally makes it the right time to see what you're doing clearly. Now, according to the legendary Ray Charles, the night time is the right time to be with the one you love. It appears lovers use daylight to check each other out and then look to finish the rest in the night time. So why is the night time the right time to be with the one you love? It has to be that that's when you get the best value from romance. In elementary economics, they teach that the opportunity cost of something is the alternative foregone. If lovers spend much of the day in romance, they forego the benefit of a job interview, a job itself, and its pay, or a business prospect. This means that the cost of romance is extremely high in the daytime, when there are very high economic payoffs from various other alternative activities. And then there are distractions at home and all about in the daytime. So the benefits of romance are not all internalized. Some of the benefits, as economists would say, spill over to third parties, as they may take delight in just watching you or your lovely wife or date. Because of the depreciation and even devaluation that your romance suffers when other people are watching you, you find it more profitable waiting for the nighttime so you can enjoy all the benefits of the romance exclusively. At night, the opportunity cost of romance is low because there are few competing alternatives, and the benefits are high because there are minimal distractions. So indeed, that nighttime is the right time to be with the one you love. Our hidden economics for you.
You know the nighttime is the right time to be with the one you love now. Say now, oh baby.
Before we start our discussion in view, here are our quick view answers. South Africa is not among the top 4 countries with the highest GDP per capita. The country with the highest number of households with bank accounts is Kenya. And for credit card use, it is Botswana. As I have said before, and which is very well known, performance across Africa in recent years on a range of measures of socio-economic and political development is far from ideal. With this, Africa will be the only region where the Millennium Development Targets will not be met. What I call slam dunk politics is mostly responsible for this. Slam dunk politics occurs when politicians try to win at all costs and with the widest of margins. To look at this, we have with us Mr. Nicholas Ezechiel and Dr. Otivi Buzo. Nicholas Ezechiel is the CEO of Living Eyes International Media Nigeria Limited. Mr. Ezechiel has business activities around the world. Dr. Otivi Buzo is the Executive Director of the African Center for Leadership, Strategy and Development. He is the former international head of campaigns of Action Aid International and country director of Action Aid Nigeria. Please join me in my discussion with Mr. Nicholas Ezechiel and Dr. Otivi Buzo. Okay, gentlemen, welcome to our studio. We're going to talk about slam dunk politics, but I wanted to pick it up from the sort of the global aspect of democracy, and then to say that democracy returned to Africa in the early 1990s. Economic growth is averaged about a 5% mark over this last few years. Question is, the improvement that we see in the overall economy in Africa, is that a result of democracy? Or what is it a result of?
I think that it's not a single factor that is responsible for the improvement we have seen. Many of the improvements in terms of the economic growth rate comes from mineral resources. Come from oil, diamonds, and other mineral resources. But we also know
that we had minerals all this time.
Yeah, that's the point I'm coming to. We also know that democracy creates a better enabling environment for economic activities to blossom. Okay. So to some extent, you can say the growth rate we have experienced could be partly attributed to democracy. Because if you look through the continent, you will notice that, because when you talk about democracy, it goes beyond elections. Substantive democracy has to look at procedures, values, and institutions. And even when you look at elections, you cannot say democracy has stabilized, even only on the measure of elections, until you see transition of power from one regime to another, from one ruling party to an alternative ruling party. And we see from our experience in Africa that from about 30 years, from 1960s, 70s, and 80s, there was no single transfer of power apart from Mauritius.
Yes.
This transfer of power started in 1991, and since then, over 10 ruling parties have lost power, either in Zambia, or in Ghana, or in Somaliland, or in Sierra Leone. So, to that extent, in my view, democracy has been a positive thing for Africa.
I think, sorry to interject there.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think to a certain extent, it has not brought as much progress as should be expected. Yes, the figures are quoting growth figures, but the reality, how does it affect the average Nigerian in the street? In fact, I think they'll feel it has not, their lives have not really improved.
But there's an improvement from the 70s and 80s.
I think the statistics.
So when we got democracy, things got better. So is that not?
No.
Is that not an improvement?
I mean, in relation to statistics, for example,
Yeah.
if you look in terms of, for example, how many more Nigerians are unemployed, the housing factors. Yes, we're doing more export, but the lives of the average Nigerians, everything about 80% of the 160 million, their life has not improved at all. So we're looking at a very small minority who have progressed across Africa.
I think it's a global problem. In the last 50 years, global wealth has increased 7 times, and income has increased 5 times. But the number of poor people have continued to increase. If you come to Africa, by the end of 2013, about 350 million Africans are already in the middle class, earning between $2 and $20 per day. But the challenge is that as the economic growth is taking place, the number of poor people is increasing because the growth is not inclusive.
Well, because the population, the size of the population is getting bigger.
It's not just the size of the population.
I mean, that's why the numbers will be
No,
larger.
no, it's not just the
Is
size.
the percentage rising?
Yes, in Nigeria,
yeah.
for instance, in the 80s,
Yes.
the percentage of people living below the poverty line was around 20%,
That's right.
which increased to
I should know.
around 70. Yeah, economic advisor, you should know. Which increased to, according to official statistics, 54.4% in 2004.
That's correct.
And between 2004 and 2010, the economic growth rate was over 6% in Nigeria. Yet, the percentage of poverty increased to 69% by 2010. So, you see that.
We have to do a show on that because I have a lot to say about it. But go ahead anyway.
Yeah.
Yes. We have to do a different show on that one.
But what is, yeah, we can do a different show,
Yes.
but what the statistics, official statistics is showing is that even though economic growth rate is improving, the percentage of those living below poverty line is increasing.
So relatively.
And so the absolute number is jumping.
Well, in that case, that must be a special problem for Africa because it is the United Nations has said, and some other analysts have said, that the one goal that we're going to make or meet of the Millennium Development Goals is the poverty reduction goal.
Yes, but
Because across the world, and especially because of the nearly 700 million Chinese
That are
were
removed.
taken out of poverty, since the early 1980s till now, that because of that number, we've been able to reduce the global poverty rate to somewhere in the 20-something% range, from 40-something% range.
But if
In
you-
Africa, it's still around 50% range.
fine.
But is it because of statistical measures or
no,
what's the
if
problem?
you look at that report,
Yeah.
the MDG report, it also tells you that the greatest challenge with the achievement of the MDGs is that the poorest and the most vulnerable are left behind.
Yes.
You know, that is the challenge. And for Africa, that is a huge challenge. For Nigeria, it's a huge challenge. For Nigeria to achieve the MDGs, when the MDGs was formulated,
Yes.
the percentage poverty rate in Nigeria officially was about 42%.
That is correct.
And so-
about 92
Yeah,
or
yeah,
so, but although
yeah.
this was 90, but the 92 number for Nigeria was about that.
42%,
Yes.
you know. And for Nigeria to achieve the MDG, the poverty rate should be reduced to 21% by 2015. But that's not going to happen.
Yeah, okay. Now, so that means that something is wrong with the politics and the democracy. And that's why I started with democracy as a central platform to use.
Right.
But so I want to lay on top of that now politics, okay, which is a driving element of democracy. So that our politics have not taken into cognizance measures to be sure that we can have inclusive growth, that we can drive down the poverty rate. Nick, you want to say something to that?
I think we need to really define democracy
Okay.
as far as the African point of view. In a global perspective, democracy is really for the people, by the people, I would assume. In the African context, it's not like that. It's really for my friends and myself, by my friends
Where is
and
that?
myself.
Where is that written?
That's just a general consensus, general feel. Because the reason why
That's how you feel, or
that's how I
that's
see
how
it.
people feel.
No, that's how I see it.
Okay.
Because the reason being, a lot of statistics are more or less calculated based on a small minority. The masses, the people, are not really reflective in terms of the benefits of growth or the impact of democracy as a whole. They're literally left behind. And that's the reason why I think it's broadly summarized by my friends, for my friends. At this
So that's what I call slam dunk politics.
Yes.
You know, in basketball, that we used to see Michael Jordan jump up in the air, take the basketball, perhaps with both hands, and slam
one.
downwards into the basket, uncontested. And the fans, even the defenders, are left in bewilderment.
Yes.
They can't defend it. In African politics, there appears to be something like that. The guy comes and he wins convincingly
Yes.
by whatever means. Now, to me, it's supposed to be that you're supposed to come up with ideas and convince the people, vote for me on the basis of these ideas. But I don't see a whole lot of that happening across the board. Somehow, whoever wins, whether it was Mobutu Sese Seko, it was whoever it was that stayed in power for years and years and years and years, they win 99% of the votes all the time.
Yeah, I agree
Is
with
that
you.
the reason why we didn't have the sort of benefits from democracy as we could have had? Because of the style of this, because of this so-called slam dunk politics?
No, first, there are several reasons. The politics is one of them. The nature and character of the economy is one of them. The
Yeah, but the
political
economy is driven by the,
yeah,
by the
the
politics.
political economy is one of them.
Yes.
The fact that there are lack of institutions are part of it.
Yes.
However, I think that the slum dunk politics that you talked about, in terms of the fact that the outcome is obvious, in comparison with basketball, when the player jumps and pulls the bat and is undisputable.
Yes.
That was happening in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. But along the
But that was
African
when we
landscape,
had military rule.
yes,
though.
yes.
Okay.
No, even when we have the one-party system,
Early on, yes.
you know.
Authoritarian democracy.
Yes,
Yeah.
but the point we must note is that changes are taking place not only across Africa but across the world.
Yes.
In the last 10 years, because of what I mentioned earlier, the fact that global wealth is increasing
Yes.
and poverty is increasing at the same time, coupled with a lot of information that has become available to people now. So poor citizens, there's a lot of discontent and they are voting out governments.
Politics. Some politicians think of it as a game that must be won. They call it the game of politics. Now, politics comes from the Greek word politikos, which means of, for, or relating to citizens. And it is about the practice and theory of influencing other people on a civic or policy issue. So if politics is related to citizens, then any and all political action should be aimed at benefiting the people. When there are competing ideas about how better to take care of citizens, political groups can emerge and compete to win over support from the citizens about how to best provide for them. In basketball, a slam dunk occurs when a player jumps in the air and manually powers the ball downward through the basket with one or both hands over the rim. It is an intimidating shot that often leaves fans and even defenders in bewilderment. The term slam dunk was coined by the legendary Los Angeles Lakers announcer Chick Hearn. Some basketball players that established and popularized the slam dunk are Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Julius Erving, and Michael Jordan. A slam dunk, in regular speaking, is something that is sure to happen. If politicians want slam dunk results in an election, they should pursue and espouse slam dunk ideas, which means ideas that a great majority of the people want, in order to improve the level of living of the generality of the people. Now, it appears that always and everywhere, the average politician, if possible, wants a slam dunk victory to show political invincibility. I would hazard to say, therefore, that a major reason for civil strife and conflict in Africa is probably the desire by politicians to have slam dunk political victory by whatever means. In Africa and some parts of the world, when the politician seeks a slam dunk electoral victory for personal gain, rather than convincing the general populace on why he should be the leader, he often tries to convince people of his ethnic group on why they should resist and oppose the guy from the other tribe. If his tribe is in the majority, he can by that get a slam dunk victory driven by suspicion and hate. Sometimes it can be even more pernicious than this. A politician, usually an incumbent, wanting to stay in power, can use intimidation by employing the instruments of government to minimize or even disenfranchise the opposition. This method of using political power is an aspect of what I have described as political witchcraft. As you know, witchcraft is power without authority, which is what the devil does. He has power but has no authority. Therefore, his power, when exercised, will always lead to ruin or perdition. When a politician with power exploits the people for his own gain, he is practicing political witchcraft, which often leads to social conflict or compensatory negative behavior from the people so exploited. And then there is straight-out voting manipulation and fraud, where the politician, to obtain a slam dunk win, uses any means possible to arbitrarily inflate his votes or deflate the votes of his opponents. Bottom line, we want to encourage politicians who want slam dunk electoral victory to develop ideas that can help the people, all of the people, and mostly to raise the people's level of living, and not just the politicians' style of living. I'm Magnus Paco, and that's my view.